Okay, let me see if, I hope that it should work right now. I apologize for that. I was simply painting and I did not even realize that something is wrong. Should probably, I'll double check myself. Thank you for actually pointing this out, because I don't know. So it seems that it's working right now. So hopefully we're good. I was talking about the proportions, and I was talking about the 7.5 heads is kind of that you know, general standard. We have, of course, we have that kind of a canon that was created by Greeks, I believe, and there was 8 heads. Was like a, you know, like that perfect proportion, because they really left everything to put into like these mathematical equations, and their canon was 8 times the size of the head by I'm thinking about whether or not the stream is working and I'm just trying to do 3 things at once. Check the stream, make sure that I know how to paint, and then also trying to explain the very important Greek canon with 8 heads, which can be broken depending on, because I think that Egyptians, they had 10 heads, you know, they had these elongated figures. And then when you look in the late Michelangelo's paintings, or frescoes rather, the very famous in Sistine Chapel, not that is on not the one that is on the ceiling, but then is directly behind the altar, or directly in front of you. He used that mannerism, which he elongated these bodies, and he went to 9, sometimes even a 10 heads length. I use usually 7.5 because that's more natural feel. There's something that we used to these days. But if you want to do something, if you do 8 heads, you will never go wrong if you work with 8 heads, because it's easier to count. Then you have 4 heads, it's a halfway point of the body. 2 heads, it's a length of the arm, and another or 2 heads, 4 heads, it's a length of the arms, and the 4 heads, it's a length of the feet. So you can just quickly mathematically do this. And you know, I always think about these measurements as guidelines to correct my anatomy. It's not necessarily, if you want, you can do, I don't know, you can do different measurements, because sometimes they say that, you know, the eyes are in the center of the head, so you're dividing it there, a halfway point for a portrait. Some people like to work with thirds, which is the bottom of the chin and the bottom of the nose, and glabella to hairline, to divide it into thirds. There's so many different measurements. I like to use all of them, because sometimes it fits this way, sometimes it fits that way, and not always. You know, you can, if you have something, I don't know, in the shadow, maybe you cannot use halfway points, so you use thirds. If you have something that is in the shadow through the halfway point, you might use thirds and correct this that way. There is a plethora of different ways how to measure the body. The only important part with these measurements is whether or not it's believable. After all, you remember, we're creating an illusion of a 3-dimensional space. Therefore, we can create an illusion of the length of the body. And you know what? You can have a beautiful 8 heads, but if you make him 8 head wide, he's going to look like a square. Therefore, definitely he's not going to look as tall as you want to, but it still could be, it's still proportionally okay when it comes to length, right? Not necessarily width, but length for sure. And right now I'm somewhere on the 7.5. give or take. And I can always adjust that. I can always, create. I can always push. Still his feet. I still have a space down there. If I feel that his body or his torso is too short, or his legs are too short, or whatever feels too short. But I think that he looks okay. If anything, he looks a little too tall. And again, that's because he's skinny, right? The moment I would widen his body, in comparison, he will get shorter. Visually, he will get shorter. You're absolutely right. That's something that I should point out as well, is that 8 heads and all that measurements with 8 heads go immediately out of there. You can throw them out of the window, not only with foreshortening, but with contrappostos even. I think the contrapposto is like the limits where you can use 8 heads, because you have a pressure on the one leg, right? But still you have that bunching of the body, so it's really tricky. Any twists and these more like a Baroque positions, like when you're this, you can't apply any of that measurement. And of course, foreshortening, the moment that you raise your hand, or you raise your legs towards the viewer, the foreshortening is going to create so many problems. So at that moment, there's 2 options. If you work from a live model, I would probably measure it through these imaginary implied lines, and I would ask myself that if my hand is right here, and I create, I don't know, horizontal, what else is going to lie on that horizontal that is important for me? Let's say the elbow, the end of the elbow. So I would make the measurement that way, and I adjust it that way. And then, if you work from imagination, if it feels good, most likely it's right. But you have to be really, really honest to yourself. You have to be honest to yourself, because the moment you're going to start lying that, oh, this hand is correct, or arm rather, or forearm, then no measurement is going to help you if you're not going to admit that it's wrong. And it was difficult for me to admit that I'm wrong with certain measurements. But then I was immediately not immediately. I was then, when your painting are hanging next to your classmates, and you can compare yourself one-to-one or one to another paintings, you will see it immediately. Trust me, you will see the difference. You will see the difference. So this might be probably the reason why I like to go to art school, because you will see your mistakes if you really try to compare yourself with your peers. And since when I paint, everything is based on comparison, then also the final result should be by the comparisons with the other final results of another painters. And there is no other way, just put them next to each other, one next to another. And you will immediately see, oh, he or she, they have a better color. They have a more vibrant kind of a feel to it, whereas mine would be more like that, Rembrandtish, brownish hue, which might today be really might be really boring. Let's put it that way. It might be really boring because people want to see more action, more colors, more vivid things, because we are just used to it, and it's all over everywhere. Think about like Las Vegas. It's really, and this might be a stupid example, but comparing painting of Rembrandt with bright light, neon and yellow and all the other lights in Las Vegas, no one's going to even pay attention to Rembrandt. So yeah, let's get back to painting. Let me just grab a water for tea. So cold in the back rooms. I should probably turn on the heat. Okay. So maybe I could cut it in here and then push it this way. Maybe that might be. That's really funny that you're also refusing to turn on the heater. You know what? That's really since I used to study in St. Petersburg. I mean, it can get really cold there, and I remember that we could turn on heaters to maximum, and sometimes it was so cold, especially when you get to school after a weekend. It was really. Well, jackets and everything, people, you couldn't even see people and faces, nothing. It was just, and I remember that we even stopped adjusted the setups with live models, so we don't put models on the stand naked, because it was really cold. So yeah, I'm in denial. I'm still like, what 10 degrees? That's nothing. That's like a short, I should probably wear shorts right now. Or I should move a little faster, talking less and paint more, right? And that's it. So let's do that. Let me just stop yapping, because I will never see the finish. So if I push it here and here and here, and then maybe I could move it a little bit this way, a little higher, get rid of this. Let me see. Okay, I need to mix the background color. Is this it? Too dark? Let me lighten it up a little bit. No, you are not distracting me. That's totally cool. I'm saying that you ask a cool question and then I go, for half an hour on tangent that, you don't even want to hear. So no, it's not about you. It's about, it's me who's the problem. No, go for it. Ask as many questions as you can. And then, you know what, if there is a question that I'm not answering, then, be persistent and, keep asking the same thing over and over again. Because that's the only way how to address certain problems with painting and also with the stream. I'm grateful that you pointed out that it's not working, because I would be here, and it happens to me multiple times before that I'm talking for 2 hours and then, people are like, well, but we cannot hear you though. So something is with your microphone. And I was so, into a painting that I forgot to, even pay attention to. I'm not really good with, keeping up with chat yet, but I already adjusted that, especially for that bad painting Friday, because I'm sitting and the computer is behind me, so I have to figure it out how to put, some display next to me so I can read the comments while I'm painting, or at least see that, okay, so I'll push it this way a little bit more. So I really do appreciate your input. And it's very important, because it forces me to really think about not only about what I'm doing, but about what I'm saying. And trust me, when I'm watching myself talk, sometimes I'm really confused myself. So, because it's really difficult for me to paint and talk at the same time. Extremely. So I really appreciate that you guys have a patience with me. And then also that you have a patience to, me going on tangents. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. So I'm dealing with these shapes and the design of these shapes. And remember, I talked about Michelangelo. There's also important things that he's talking about, and it's design. It's like I try to give a little Italian spin on it, which is because Italians really love their language, and rightfully so. So when you say design, they like to point out that it's a design, and I still pronouncing it incorrectly. So I'm trying to design these things, and Michelangelo talked about design a lot in his diary, or diary. I wouldn't call it a diary. In his push it this way to show these little adjustments, and then I could create a little, that would be kind of cool, to create a little lower here instead of where I designed it previously, and push it this way and create little. I'm trying to make it not necessarily simplified, but I'm trying to think about this. I have a question here that I haven't even realized. Are you a teacher at art school? No, I am not a teacher at art school. And the reason is because I never thought of being a teacher. This stream is actually about, who's going to help me? What is this stream about? This stream is about showing what the painting actually is if you work on the long, on these larger canvases, no, or even small ones, because I'm not a direct painter necessarily. I like to work with layers. I like to work with. I like to move things around. And if you think about, or if you're seeing this for the first time, this is actually just a fragment, and this is only for fun. Well, for fun. This is for experiments. So what I do here during these streams, I'm showing you how many mistakes I do daily when I paint. That it's not about just these perfect videos that you see with painters that they sit down and they cut out the scenes where they really struggle. I want to show you that to get it closer to everybody, that it's really, it takes me time to develop certain things. It takes me time to get actually better, get better, yeah, of course, get better, but to get closer to the image that I want you to see. So yeah, that's really a long answer about no, I'm not a teacher in the art school. I might be. I help now and then. I give lectures and I do these demos for students, but no, I'm not a full-time teacher, and I probably never be, because that's a really demanding job. That's a really demanding job. But I have students that come to my studio and I help them. I check the portfolios. I do, I adjust certain things. There are a couple streams that I did where I actually took some of my friends' work, and they asked me for help with the composition, because there is a lot of painters that know how to paint very well, but they struggle with composition. That's a whole nother important part when you paint. It's composition, and I'm all about the composition. So that's something that it's my something that I focus on with my work especially. So I was correcting some of my colleagues' compositions, and not even correct. I was giving them suggestions. So that's something that I like to do. And this is actually, like I said at the beginning, this is more about, this is a painting discourse. This is not me teaching you how to paint. This is me experiencing painting alongside with all of you. So and I know that I'm not alone, because being in the studio is really lonely sometimes. So Ace, if you're still here on the stream and you have any questions or something that you need to help with, or you want to, share, please do so. I'll try to answer as truthfully and honestly as I can. But there's a disclaimer. I might not be right. again, designing that. I think this is way better right now. That I'll enclose that sleeve, and the only reason why I want to enclose that sleeve because I want to show that perspective, that that foreshortening, and I have to show somehow that it's that something is wrapping around that. It's helping to that overall. I expect you to always be right. Yeah. Okay. Well, again, you might be disappointed. Well, I'm going to let's do this. I'm going to pretend that I'm always right. Okay. That might solve a lot of issues. Oh, you know what? I've been doing this for what? For more than 12 years, and I'm still new to painting. So don't even worry about that. The important part with these streams is, and I talked about this. I talked about this at the beginning, is that this is not entertainment video. This is literally paint alongside, and sometimes there is a half an hour quiet in the stream because I'm focused on painting and people that are here are focused on their paintings. Or if you're a sculptor, there is the same thing, the same idea. You can enjoy this as a sculptor as well. Or if you work digitally, because sometimes I work digitally as well on the stream. So definitely go for it. And there is no difference between small and large painting, only the amount of hours that you have to put into it, and the amount of paint that you have to squeeze on your palette, and the size of your brushes. Fake it till you make it, of course. Yes, definitely. That's the name of the game. That's the name of the game. And you remember at the beginning, I always talk about that 95% of my work, 95% of my work are mistakes. So yeah, fake it till you make it is a true statement for this stream for sure. Plus, like I said, this is not really, this has no entertainment value, these videos at all. So definitely, if you're watching right now, just grab a piece of paper, pencil, and sketch. That's at least that. And because that's very important to start. And I know that something when I was a student, problem wasn't painting. Problem was get to a studio and start painting. And especially if you don't know what you're doing, it's so discouraging. And that's why I have these streams. I don't want you to be discouraged. I want you to see that that it's always going to be the same thing. You're gonna try something, and you're gonna find out whether it's work or not. And like I said, me personally, most of the time it's not working. And then you are so happy for the moments when it actually works. It's rewarding. So I have a little shape there. And again, I'm trying to create a different feel to this second shoulder. While this one is bunched all the way up here, I want to make it slightly less bunched there because his arm is a little lower, and then more around this area where the elbow is. I can't even speak properly. Where the elbow is, just to show that I have creases here, I have creases here as well. But there is that's what unifies them. But then I have to make them a little bit more interested. And you remember I talked about that Herald Speed. unity within the variety and variety within the unity. And then, construction comes again. And I can't hear what I'm saying. So I'm going to make this darker. And neutral, and I'm going to use this as a halftone. Or neutral. I mean, it's not neutral. It might be that gray that leans more towards blue. And it's going to be towards the inside of that shoulder. And I should probably push it even more. I should make it a little lighter. Because that's too dark of a value. This is too light. This is too neutral. And this should be perfect. I can still push it a little lighter. And maybe a little more saturated. So I'm designing these large shapes right now for the, yeah, that's a similar pigment. I'm designing this larger shapes right now because what I'm interested, first, my feeling was that the arm, it's not round. It was flat. It didn't create, or it was not communicating properly that illusion of three-dimensional space on like the tubular three-dimensional space, or cylindrical rather, shape was not there. And and if you're trying to create details or folds on top of something that does not have that overall round shape, it's going to still read as a flat shape. So I'm dividing it right now into again, as always, I talk about, I have a front plane, side plane, and top plane or bottom plane, or whichever direction are you looking at. And I'm starting with adding the halftone, so I have light, halftone, and the shadow. But again, that halftone, I try to design it according to what I observed in Rembrandt's work. No, I'm not copying his painting. What I'm doing is that I am looking at that. How did he solve the problem with a form in his painting? And then I'm designing my own shapes and my own forms because I'm pretty sure that he would prefer something else that I do, and same goes for you. You prefer something else that rest of us. So it's up to you to choose whatever or whichever design you prefer. And that's why I like painting so much, because there's so many variations in between painters and artists, for that matter. Every one of us, we have our own way to perceive things. I'm not trying to copy Rembrandt because that would be pointless. I can never be as good as Rembrandt because Rembrandt was only one. but I still want to be as good as I possibly can myself. And I really want to stay true to myself. That means that I want to make sure that I'm not lying to myself about, whether or not these faults are working or not working, or this shape. Well, Frazetta is probably one of the best examples. Another one, when we talk about, just the simplification and light and dark, and you heard me talking about this, is Frank Miller. I am really big fan of his designs. I have to put my camera on charger. All right, I'm working on that, on designing that sleeve right there, and it's happening. It's happening. That's all I have to say to that. It's happening. Not necessarily. %, as I imagined it, compared to a Rembrandt that is laying right here, which is perfection. But some of Rembrandt's actually early work look kind of funky. I have to say that some of his early works are way too, I don't want to say childish, but you can tell that this is Rembrandt doing, studying, exploring, experimenting. So that's something that keeping me sane, that he also had to study, he also had to go through certain periods in his life that when the sky was really like really blue and it was also almost comical, but you could still see that there is maybe the sky is comically blue, but there is still shapes there. There is still something happening, experimentation with stuff. Yes, you're absolutely right. Well, it's very important to go back and forth, because same as with the small painting, I talked about this as well a lot, that I place the brushstroke right here, but then it's going to affect the whole painting. And unless I step back and I can see the whole painting at once, without me actually moving my head from top to bottom like this, I never move my head like this, because how would I put this? It's my eyes are looking, making these images, the top part, the middle part, and the bottom part, and then instead of me actually comparing this brushstroke with, I don't know, with the finger, I'm comparing this brushstroke with this part right here, trying to remember that, and then going back all the way here. And it's like that, as a kids we used to play the telephone game that, I don't know if you guys know what I mean, is that you know, you say something very quiet to your friend, and then friend to say it very quietly to someone else, and it goes around, and it should get the same message to you, and it never gets the same. You never get the same answer, never get the same sentence. Same goes if I'm not looking at my painting as a whole, right? Not even moving with my eyes. I want to go all the way back, as far as I can, back into my studio. I'm actually leaning over the wall right now, so I can see it as a whole thing. And yeah, it's a cool workout. I said previously that, you know, I have my 10,000 steps before lunch. That's way too light. Let's get a little darker. Maybe let's hit it with a little bit of yellow ochre. Move it toward that. So we could actually hit this. It can go here into a point. Yeah, you shouldn't guys sit, you should guys stand when you paint. I'm going to make you guilty for that. Do you know why? Because I prefer to sit and paint. And there is nothing wrong with it, but you can't sit and paint on this scale. That's just, actually this is you can't sit and paint this size, which is right next to me, this one. You simply can't. There's no way. Well, actually you can, but then, you know, you'll stand up and you will see why you can't. And I don't want to, you know what, I don't want to take away those surprises from you. So, and then, you know, it's way difficult for me to stand up and move around when I'm sitting. And it sometimes, not always, but there are moments, and it felt restraining. That I felt like I'm just, you know, that I'm being restrained by. Maybe I could hit this here, and then it kind of creates this kind of a little edge right here. Well, that might work, and then here. Well, I got it. I think I got it right now. I think I got it. Yeah, way better. So right now, the only thing that I have to do is adjust that background, and I can move forward. No way, no way. I can't believe who joined to my stream. This is amazing. Those are my guys from St. Petersburg. Shout out to Rappins Academy. I'm really excited to see you there. Hey man, how's it going? That's awesome. And they are just telling me those are my friends. Actually, also my teachers, my masters. I can call them that way. They're telling me that it's too dark, and I'm going to give a rant on how this is not too dark, how is it that I'm painting like Delacroix and everything is in a gloomy day. But they're right, it's too dark, I'm aware of it, and we're working with making it lighter. And also it's dark in the studio, so I have all the excuses that I possibly have. But I'm so happy that they are here. My hands are shaking right now. It's really, it's too dark? I don't think so. But you know, they are way more skillful. So what are they writing? they are right now making fun about me actually stretching canvases, or not. I have to say that they are making fun of me pronouncing certain things in a different language. That is actually pretty funny. That definitely made my day. And I'm pretty sure that one of the people from chat, Taicha, is responsible for this. I'm pretty sure that she is responsible for them joining a stream. So thank you, Taicha, that you actually connected us. I should probably then take a picture and post that picture. Yeah, she's responsible for it. I knew it. She's always dealing with the things that she's not supposed to. Not that she's not supposed to. She's trying to help everybody else, and then she's forgetting to actually helping herself. So I appreciate it, Aicha. Thank you. You're awesome. You just forced me to a position when I was really afraid to share the stream with the people from the academy, but you know, there it is. I hope that you guys all together aren't you guys supposed to paint as well? Isn't this a time for painting? Well, here's a question. I'm going to read it out loud. Do you have any study tips or exercises that you found especially useful in improving your art? Well, that's a good question, and I would need to answer you honestly. I would need probably more information about what kind of painting are you interested in, what's something that, you know, what are your preferences in terms of whether you like to paint portraits more than figures, or still lifes in comparison to plein airs. There's so many things that could affect the rate of your improvement. I would say, and this is something that I never wanted to do, and right now when you look around, and if you would look around, you would see how many how many self-portraits do I have? That's something that I have, and probably it's because I was in art school, so we always had models there, and I didn't need, or I was not really thinking about using myself as a model. And right now, since I'm alone in the studio and I don't have any models here, and I want to practice portraiture, I use myself as a model whenever I have time, and I experiment a lot with my portraits. I have a really bad self-portraits here, really bad. So that would be perhaps one way to improve your painting or drawing, for that matter. You can draw yourself. You can draw your autoportraits. Then you can get small little casts. This is actually a cast of a skull, and this is all. If you are interested in portraits, I'm just going to talk about portraits, and you can start improving through understanding the anatomy. And when I say anatomy, I'm talking about a surface anatomy. That means that you don't need to go into depth. It's only anatomy that is visible on the surface. And that includes not only bone structures, that also includes tendons and muscles and subcutaneous fat, the skin, and so on and so forth. What else? You can get, you can do master copies and master studies. Ideally, if you have a museum that allows you to work in the museum, you could definitely go and do master studies and master copies in the museum, which would be definitely beneficial. What else? Can anyone from chat give some suggestions, perhaps? Am I... And then probably the most important part would be that you start with painting or drawing or any art for that matter. And that's what helped me is that I started with things that I like. I mean, don't paint things that you don't like. That's probably, I mean, I know that it's kind of the moment, but I know that I didn't want it to paint still life. Didn't want it to. I was not interested in still life because I simply want to be. Those are actually still lifes, and if you're not painting them, if you're not practicing it, you're gonna miss it. You're gonna be able to paint these, figures in the vacuum without actually any other things around. I realized that if I want to paint figures that are outside or actually in the environment, I have to go and paint plein air. That's just so many aspects to this. So as they mentioned, guys from St. Petersburg Academy, it's too dark. And this is very, very valid point. Since this is a painting discourse, instead of me being like, oh no, you don't understand. No, these are all observers. Not only that, these are masters in what they do. So I should be self-critical in that and think about that. They are looking at it from a perspective not only just observers, but also people they know or are familiar with what painting is, right? So those are very important insights. Trying to convince yourself that they are wrong, it's not going to help you. Is actually going to do you a disservice. So I have to say thank you guys that you joined the stream and add your knowledge as well. And you should definitely check them out and their work as well. These are both amazing artists, Ilya Zorkin and Alexei Perepelkin. And what I think that another thing that they thought, or they why it seems that it's dark, it's because it's all really a low saturation. So I don't have as much chroma as I would like to there. So I'm going to bring the chroma, I'm going to bring that that saturation forward. Oh, you should definitely check it out. I'll try to link their work. Into a chat or into a comments rather. Yeah, I'll link them into, but it's going to be probably linked into YouTube. Or I link them in a description, or into a why am I lying to you? I don't know how to use Twitch, so I'll have to figure that out. But I'll make sure that you guys have that. So you can check them out and you can see what's up. And judge it on your own. So you don't have my, I'm biased. I like them. They're awesome. Right now I'm trying to, adjust that perfect ellipse that I was talking about right here that I created, unfortunately. And I'm going to do it with the value and with the saturation and with the brush application. So, and if that won't help, then I will have to simply repaint it. I will have to make a different shape, completely different shape. little bit of scumbling on the top to unify this. And I'm going into that arm or forearm because I want to connect these values. And then again, in one moment, disconnect them again. But I'm going to connect them and disconnect them not based on whether or not, how would I put this? I will do these adjustments based on the composition rather than just whether or not they are connecting or disconnected in that exact spot, or whether or not there is a light, there is a shadow there or cast shadow. So I'm pushing that hand a little bit more forward by actually adding a little lighter value. And right now I can actually push it even more forward because these are all low chroma, high value, low chroma, high value pigments that I'm placing there. So it's kind of, it's starting to look monochromatic. And right now I can actually dry brush on top of this a really, really nice warm value, because I want to show that that they have that burnt, not burnt, but they have that sunburn. Not necessarily sunburn, but they are tan, because that's, you know, these are the parts that are exposed the most against that, you know, that, you know, the part of the biceps or triceps that they are usually covered, even though, you know, I'm giving them that kind of a short t-shirt, a sleeve tan or something like that, somewhere in that area. So that will be the next next step in pushing this forward. And then I am going to actually put this, I can definitely do that, I'm going to put this a little more saturated, and that immediately make this painting lighter. So I'm grabbing that really saturated pigment, and I was saturating it and then desaturating it. And right now I'm placing the saturation again, but this is just a dry brush. So it's picking up only a top parts, and it's automatically starting to brighten up the whole painting. It's really hard to see. Yeah, it's a farmer stand, thank you. I didn't want to use the word redneck because I wasn't sure if that's a... And here's the thing, I know, in my head, I know it's there, I know that I'm supposed to do it. It's just I'm kind of trying to figure it out, everything else, before I get into these really bright light values, so I don't get caught into idea that I have these high contrast shifts rather than just over all forms, right? Because you can apply the pigments really, really bright right here. Let's have fun with it, right? And it immediately stands out, immediately. And my question would be, in terms of, well, not my question, the thing that it's in my head would be, is this helping to overall composition, these light patches or really, really high saturated patches, or is it distracting from what I want to do? So that's why I'm very stingy with these. I don't know if stingy is the right word, but I'm being really careful and patient with these. I don't even want to call them highlights, but these are more more like a I don't know. I don't have a better. Let's call them highlights for the sake of the argument. right? So, and then I would think that, oh, because the problem happens when you think about these, that, oh, this needs to be lighter because it's a top side. Well, in this stage of saturation, I don't want to think about these things as it's lighter because it's a plane that it's closer towards the sun, right? Or towards the light source, rather. I want to think about these highlights as a direction for you, or actually, no, let me rephrase that. I want to think about them as a compositional adjustments rather than a form, or the kind of I don't want to create volumes with these. I want to create the area of interest. An area of interest should be, in my head, in the composition, in the sense of composition, should be separated from the form. And that's why I like Delacroix so much, and the idea of Delacroix, that he's painting everything like it's in the shadow, or like it's in the overcast day. And then he decides, no, I want this way more saturated. I want this less saturated. It just gives, and I don't want to say that I like his paintings as much as that idea, because I think that the Rembrandt was doing same thing or very similar thing. He didn't write about it. That's how I feel. Well, you are absolutely right to think about form and surfaces. That's absolutely right. But then ask yourself, that's what I'm asking myself. And since, I'm the one that's talking, you have to, you're forced to listen to me. That's great when you are in that beginning stage of composing. And you are going to reach the point when these simple ideas are not sufficient enough. And you can see it in the Rembrandt. He really started with these simple ideas that he's going to just create forms, and he was creating forms. And and then, oh, that's a sky. It's blue, so I'm going to paint it blue, right? And then he realized that, well, who cares? Sky can be whatever color I want, as long as it helps overall message that he wanted to communicate with. He started with these beautifully rendered portraits and faces that everybody was buying and admiring, and he was accumulating his wealth. But truth to be told, he's more known and respected for his later works that nobody was buying, nobody was actually even interested in. And they told him multiple times that, you know what, this is just, we're not going to buy this. This is ugly. This is unfinished. Interestingly enough, another painter that I admire a lot, Turner, same thing. He had these beautiful, perfectly rendered scenes with the boats and seascapes, and then he decided, no, that's not enough. That's just a copying a nature, and that's not what painting was in his mind. That's not what painting was about. He wanted to capture that feeling of what it is to be and looking at that beautiful a seascape, rather than just giving you the exact. Let's just push this little more saturated, since we are in that saturation territory. Right, and immediately everything's starting to sink a little bit more. And the question is right now for me, is this helping composition rather than does it help a form? That's why I keep everything this way. And I might be wrong, because it might be, and I think that I might overstate this stage. I tend to, as you know, I might to stay in this kind of that, everything is in a gloomy day. I might be little too long in that stage, unnecessarily long. And it comes from the experience. The more finished paintings you have, the easier it is for you to make these decisions. Because you have to also understand, you're helping a composition, but then your harmonies are going to be thrown off a little bit, I guess. And then immediately I know something that would help. I could saturate the grass with, with really green, vibrant color. That would throw off the whole painting. Suddenly all the relationships that are there would not exist. So I have this, and I'm pushing it here. You see, I'm not adding that much of a contrast here because this is going to be in the shadow. So here, I'm going to punch up the book. I already talked about that at the beginning. Then I did this with these two little halos that are there. And right now I have the cross and I will enclose the circle. That's about the composition. It has nothing to do with a form or values or anything. That's a pure aesthetical, compositional design decision. That when you look on Rembrandt's painting, you remember we talked about the Homer painting. That's exactly what he did. Of course, there is kind of overall ideas in terms of light, right? Because he wants to create the forms, but on top of that, he's designing and he's really hitting the points of interest, and he's just really moving your eye only in the areas that he wants you to, because he wants to communicate a certain thing. So that's something that will take your painting to another level. But you have to be careful with this. This is exactly what I said about the Rembrandt earlier, that his design and his understanding of where to add and where to subtract, what to push forward, what to be like in the background, like subdue, it's just impeccable. His sense for these little minute adjustments is just impeccable, and it comes with the experience. You can't just come to a studio and someone give you, I don't know, an essay on how to do it, and then you go home and, and you're doing it. No. This is exactly the point when art starts, I believe. Or where's the division between a painting because I know how to paint, and then designing because I want to communicate a certain ideas. Okay. And then another thing is the moment when you add these really high saturated pigments there, you immediately go to portrait and you'll be like, oh, I can hit it even more lighter, even brighter, even more saturated. And it's not going to stand out. And let's actually, since I'm talking about it, let's just do the experiment. Let's try that. So I'm going to grab a light value, and I'm just going to scumble it on the top. And this is still not bright enough. So this is almost pure white, but it isn't. It's a little bit of yellow there. Because of saturation, I add yellow because I want to saturate it more. And I'm scumbling on the top, and I'm creating lighter value there. And I'm asking myself how light I can go. Even lighter? Probably. Can I go more saturated? Probably. I'm saturating it a little more. And really just a glazing, not glazing, just a light touch, and it's picking up just a little bit of pigment there. And lightening the whole forehead. But I still have a visible layer underneath. That means that I'm still keeping the form. That's why, you know, a lot of people, most of the masters, including the guys that were actually on the chat, would tell you that forget glazing or scumbling unless you actually understand the form, because scumbling and glazing or dry brushing on top, it's directly linked to actual existing form underneath. You can't glaze and scumble on the well, you can, but you're not going to get the proper effect if you glaze or scumble on the top of wrong forms, because they will never turn better. They would actually, if anything, they would turn worse. Now let's hit it here a little bit to bring up that, you know, light and warmth and saturation. And then here on the nose as well. So everything that I don't want to say that destroyed at the beginning, because I just adjusted, right now I can bring back. And you can see his portrait suddenly makes way more sense, and it's 100 times lighter than it was. It's as simple, but in order to get here, you really have to push in that previous stages a lot. You have to figure these things out, and you have to be confident that, you know, when you start adding these things, you're going to show. And you can do the same thing in the background. I can make a background lighter, more saturated, and it's immediately going to start popping up. And by adding these more saturated areas, I can then direct your attention where I want to the point that it's going to start, you know, looking comical, because you're going to have all these saturated colors, and it's not going to be believable. So you have to be, again, careful. These saturated pigments are really, for me, exclusive to a composition. I think about them as a compositional tools, never to improve. Well, I don't want to say never. Most of the time, let me rephrase that. Most of the time, I'm thinking them as a compositional tool, rather than just, you know, creating that illusion, creating the form. You are absolutely right with the idea of mediums, that, you know, people search for perfect medium that Rembrandt used. Rembrandt used pigments and brushes and fingers and palette knives. You know, no matter, you know, the perfect paint that he used, that you grind on your own with your what's that? How is it called? The molar? I don't know, the thing that you grind pigments with, and you perfect walnut oil or linseed oil that you actually grew your own, grew it from your own ground, and the same for linens, and I don't know how, that's not about that, and it never will be. And if you think that you can substitute his mastery by a tool, then you're gonna get disappointed pretty quickly. So that's a great point, that no medium, no expensive pigment no expensive brush, no expensive canvas, no expensive size, and then ground. It's going to actually give you the results of Rembrandt. The only thing that's going to give you results of Rembrandt is hours and hours and hours of practice, application, and your own experience and mistakes. These all will help you, but they're not going to make the work for you. Unfortunately, I wish it's true. I wish it would be true. And you know what? You don't need to trust me. I learned this the hard way, because I really thought that that's what I need. I thought that I need expensive brushes. Right now I use the cheapest possible brushes that are there, probably. I buy them in bulk, and I showed this multiple times. I buy them in bulk. These are really extremely cheap. And I destroy them. I go through them because I use a rough canvas, right? So the canvas works like a sandpaper. It's not about I'm not cleaning them. I'm cleaning them all the time. They're just being worn off. And that's, you know, that's a problem. I think that that's a problem. That's a misunderstanding. And you're absolutely right. And I think that's a misunderstanding about the painting, because we are looking at painting, on oil painting particularly, from the point of view of 2024, where I have, you know, enormous amount of technology that could, you know, that could advance and progress work forward very quickly. Unfortunately, this is oil painting. This medium has been around since what? Okay, let's say 1500, since Renaissance. It's a little bit before Renaissance. It got really, really popular, right? So, and then before they had egg tempera forever, for ages. Yeah. You can be surprised that, you know, people don't want to spend half a year on one painting, that then you're gonna look at and be like, oh, I can do way better. Why this looks so bad? Oh, that, well, here is the thing. I am definitely not well, I should probably be a little bit more specific, because, you know, when I'm talking, sometimes I talk and I think that you have the same experience that I do. I wish I could use expensive brushes. I really wish I could use them, but yes, they tend to last longer. But if you take your brush, no matter how expensive and good it is, and do this with it on rough surface with a lot of paint, and you are really pressing and damaging and pushing it, there is no way. There is no way. When I use, for instance, when I use the details, I tend to use the best brush that I have. When I'm doing adjustments, yes, I use probably the best brushes that I have to final work, because I really want to be precise. But, you know, most of the work, 90–95% of the work, it's through the old cheap brushes. And then again, there is a difference if you have painting this big, right? Well, that's a bad example. But if you have a painting big like this, that's really you don't really have to push and press and damage these brushes as I do, if you don't want to. It's just, I, since observing the work of Rembrandt and testing and trying the paint application and pushing the brush to the limits, it's giving me these the happy accidents, right? Or the more versatility, and then you can curve and sculpt actual texture that is in your painting with the brushes. Especially when we talk about, like, let's say that I'm glazing, I prefer to use softer synthetic brushes, and when I'm using dry brush, that's definitely 100% I go into a stiff bristle brush. And you can see that these are all worn off. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but these are all worn brushes. I really go distance with these brushes. Yep. So I could push this little lighter. And again, I'm pushing this little lighter, but since I have a different pigment underneath, it created completely different. It creates completely different optical mixture. And even though I use the same pigment from here to here, because of the underpainting or something that lie underneath, it created completely different optical illusion from left to right, or from right to left, whatever, and from top to bottom as well. Oh, definitely, it wears out brushes way faster. And then also you have a very smooth canvases, or maybe even boards or paper, like really smooth Bristol paper, Bristol paper that is really smooth, and you can paint beautifully on these if you properly size that paper, really heavy paper. That's pretty cool. And then you have really rough canvases like this one. This is really rough canvas, and you can actually hear it because you can even see it, because I still have places where the canvas is showing through the texture of a canvas. And I'm using heavy canvas because I'm applying a lot of pigments, and the pigment can sit better into these. It works like a little. They call it tooth in paper. I don't know how they call it in canvas, but all these imperfections, kind of, you load the brush and you load the canvas with the pigment, and when it dries, it kind of bonds and kind of attaches to canvas differently. Well, that's the best way how to avoid that feeling of, that means that you are using, that you are not applying enough paint. You have a little bit of paint, and then you can just really dip into it, and there is a completely different brush stroke. Those are two different things, and I learned to work both ways because I want to describe different things, right? So I have a thick, heavy impasto paint application, or application, and then I'm just dragging, and you can see here how random these brush strokes are, and I still have my brush still going because it's really loaded with the pigment, right? So many, and imagine this is on. I made these brush strokes on the palette, which is glass on top of a wood. It's a glass palette, right? And look how that pigment is just, somewhere it grabs, somewhere it doesn't, and these are these happy accidents, right? and then you go, you can do another direction. So, and then you can add something more into it when you twist it. There's so many other ways how to use the brush. And if you just, and this is something that I know I'm not against it, but if you just do this, like next to each other, I think that you are limiting yourself and the possibility what brush can do. And you shouldn't. And you shouldn't. Because I've seen the videos when they're showing you how to perfectly, mix the pigments, where if you don't want to destroy your brushes with the mixing, use palette knife. That's why we have palette knives. And trust me, no one ever taught me this in the school. This is between experienced painters actually observing what they do between. I was in the art school, and the guys that were actually talking, I actually come to their studios and I talk to them, and I watch, and I come to their painting, and I was like, oh wow, how did you apply the pigment there? And he was like, you know what, I took this and this, I don't know, and I placed the brush stroke. That was the conversation between us. But in order to get to these people, and this is a natural progress. You can't just come with, I want to know how you paint. You have to show that you are willing to go to distance, right? And then they will see it, they will accept it, and then they will start, talking to you as a peer rather than just someone who is annoying and then asking, hundreds of questions. Because I had this situation multiple times in the academy. I saw students being like, why is he not talking to me? I am this and that. Well, dude, look at your painting. You are here twice per week, not putting the effort. Do you think that the masters, they don't see it? They see that you don't know how to paint based on the way how you walk into studio and how you grab the brush for the first time. They immediately know that you don't know how to paint. Why would they waste their time with explaining to you something that when you are in the academy, you already supposed to know? The discipline, I don't want to even go into this because I don't want to sound like I'm preaching here. And I think that the obvious, the most well, let me have a sip of a tea and I'll collect my thoughts, and then I'll just do a little closing because it's already way. Yeah, I have another private lesson that I have to attend. So I think that with the painting, it's a little bit. I don't want to say that it's more difficult to explain, but the smaller percentage or less people. One more time. According to my own statistics that I created for myself, there is a little understanding in the general public. I'm going to talk about general public just to stop the people on on the street, and you can do your own experience or your own experiments and own statistic. If you go outside on the street and you stop someone and you ask that someone about learning how to play on piano and learning how to paint, they will give you two different answers, even though it's the same thing. Principle is the same, that you have to sit down and you have to practice. There is no shortcuts in painting, but for some reason people tend to think that painting is some kind of a mystery that you cannot get into, and they are completely okay with, of course I can learn. Of course I can learn how to play on the piano if I had time and money and a teacher and no worries in the world. I would go to school and I would learn how to play on the piano. No one ever that I talked to thought of painting the same way. And it might be because we kind of put painting, like the only, we have that running joke in the academy that only people that they must feel worse than the painters or sculptors, because at least the paintings, somehow you can hang it on the wall, you can do a small one, but who's going to buy the small statue to put it where? Like here? I don't know. It was so funny. I said to my friends from sculpting department that, guys, I mean, this is probably the most difficult type of art to sell these days, or to get, to be appreciated for, and earn money from that, right? So when you look at progress in learning how to play piano, there are the beginnings that, they told you to press this key and it's going to make this note. And then you are pressing it with the fingers, then with the 5 fingers, and then you can play the music, but it just sounds wrong. For some, you played all the notes correctly, but it sounds wrong because you're not adding yourself into it. And then slowly you decide, oh, I'll press this slightly lighter, or I put the accent on this little note and I push it harder because I feel that this is the note that it's going to communicate better. That's the same as with the painting. That's the progress. For some reason with piano, people understand it immediately. With painting, it's kind of like, no, that's kind of a magic trick. You have to have some kind of a specific medium that you're mixing into your paint to create these brush strokes. No, I simply took it and I placed it there, and I tested it, and I remembered that this works and the other part doesn't. So that would be probably something to keep in mind, and really think about that. If you compare painting to learning to play instruments, there is no difference. Fundamentals are the same. Of course, we are doing different things. We need to learn how to observe. Musicians need to learn how to listen, how to hear things, right? But the idea is the same. We are just using different receptors for that. But there is no difference. Plus, what I really like about art and the painting, there is no difference whether you are tall or short, black or white, or I don't know, name it. There is a canvas and your brain and your creative mind. That's all to it. Same goes for piano players. Same goes for sculptors. So that's something to really think about, how important, in my opinion, art is, and how little attention we give to art, especially in middle school and high schools, where I think that should be. I think that it's equally important, but we don't have enough, educators to do that, and unfortunately, it's not something that people want to invest time, or they don't see the benefit, because it's really a long run. It takes you years and years to understand what the painting is, same as it takes you years and years to understand what the piano, or it takes you years to start understanding where was Mozart when he was actually, or Beethoven when he was composing, or my favorite would be Mussorgsky. Mussorgsky or Tchaikovsky, for instance, right? Or Rachmaninoff or Ferenc Liszt. It doesn't matter. Pick your favorite ones. It takes you years to understand what they were doing, not being able to play it, not being able to create it, but just being able to understand. So that's I know that's very sad. So let's end up on something cheerful. Something cheerful. Okay, what would be something cheerful? It's that I felt a little sick today. I didn't want to even come to studio. Nevertheless, I came and I did some cool adjustments. I figured out the wrong proportions. I adjusted that sleeve that was bothering me. And I'm not saying that it's correct. I'm not saying that it's perfect by any means. But I have something to right now to bounce off of or start adjusting it, because I cannot adjust white canvas. You have to place some brush strokes there. That will be a positive thing. And the most positive part was that even the guys from St. Petersburg Academy showed up and gave their comments to this, which I really appreciate. And if you guys have comments to this, my painting, or maybe some adjustments, what should I do? I'm really, this is a painting discourse. There is not really a wrong answer. It just needs to be implemented into your own work and mine as well. So keep pushing it. You know, sometimes you feel bad. You don't want to go to studio. You don't want to stream, and then people, they are thousands and thousands kilometers away from you that you cannot hang out and you value and treasure showed up and support you. So immediately I feel better. So. Enjoy the rest of the day, keep working, and I'll see you tomorrow, right? Take care, bye.